A royal homecoming for two Tongan males over 150 years after they died. We know little about their lives, but Australians took the remains and put them in a Sydney Museum collection. Now the final chapter, repatriation to their present-day ancestors, where they have been laid to rest with dignity.
Why it's important to me is that this is our national treasure. This is our inheritance.
The two ancestors originated from the islands of Ata in the far south of the Kingdom of Tonga. Palu and Tupo Ata are the names posthumously bestowed to them by King Tupo VI. Bestowing names to the dead is not customary in Tonga, but this is a momentous occasion.
It's a very, very sensitive, a very happy occasion. At the same time, it allows us to look back.
The history of the Ata Islanders is a tragic one. They were renowned for their impressive physique and the ease with which they were able to scale the island's steep cliffs.
And I think this is one of the reasons why they were actually taken overseas and retained and looked upon scientifically.
In 1863, an Australian whaler from Tasmania arrived on the island and tricked half of the island's 350 residents on board and took them to Peru to sell them into the slave trade. Horrified by what took place, King Tupo I transferred the remaining islanders to his palace grounds before permanently resettling them on ʻEua Island. The descendants of Ata Islands are now living here in Golomaile, the small village behind me. The atrocities of 1863 saw the communities being torn apart, which is still remembered by the descendants living here. They have been eagerly awaiting the return of Tupo and Palu Ata, as has the royal family, who are out here in numbers to pay their respects to the two ancestors. The king, along with Queen Nanaspa'u and Princess Latufuipeka, were present for the service and were visibly emotional.
Today, with the presence of the king, he's actually rejuvenated that long traditional ancestry that they've had.
The Royal Palace of Tonga plays a central role in this repatriation.
For a leader, it's a must for them, you know. You have to bury your mom. You have to bury your dead. You can't throw it away. Simple as that.
Little is known about Tupo and Palu Ata, but records at the Australian Museum have confirmed their provenance.
So both ancestors came in at separate times, and they were both donations to the Australian Museum. One was donated over 150 years ago. We believe was picked up here in Tonga by a surgeon and then taken back to Australia. And we believe the other one was picked up by an artist, and the ancestor ended up in a Pacific art collection in Sydney and then was donated to the Australian Museum.
The Australian Museum has been prioritising the repatriation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders remain in recent years, and now they're looking to replicate the efforts in the Pacific.
Ancestral remains were taken without permission and without consent and taken into museums for their collections. And so it's highly important that those ancestral remains are returned to their communities so that they can have their burial rights.
Repatriation is a very big topic right now in Australia, and finding out how we can do this properly was part of the process, because it enables us to put some practices in place so that we can do that with the other ancestors we hold throughout the Pacific.
For the descendants of Palu and Tupo, there's a feeling of closure having their remains returned to the island.
We can now live together, and this brings closure within ourselves and our community in this island.